Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Squad QL, the roster management assistant you need to help you win your fantasy football league this year. It imports your roster, league settings, and scoring system directly from Yahoo, ESPN, or CBS to help make some waiver recommendations, lineup decisions, and even trade advice to help you win your fantasy football league. Check them out at squadql.com to download the all-in-one fantasy football manager app. And if you're into DFS as well, check out rotoql.com, where they've helped over 100,000 people win money at DFS. Check it out on Android and Apple. Let's start the show. And welcome back to Beerfield Fantasy Football. As Hopper randomly dropped the music on me, threw me off a little bit.
Hard fade. That was my bad.
That was a hard fade. Hopefully you're
like James Conner.
Hopefully the listeners out there, hopefully your shit's a little more together than our shit is right now. We're struggling a little bit with our lives and keeping things together, but hopefully everything will be okay here. We are Beerfield Fantasy Football. On today's episode, we're going to go ahead, cover all the news that's dropped since Monday. Quick do a recap of Monday night's games. Give you our starts and sits of the week, do a Thursday preview of Ravens at the Bengals, and then we're also going to jump into the lounge and tell you what we've learned from week one that we now see clearly.
That's 5 things we're doing today.
That's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things. We're not going to try to spend too much time on any of them. As always, though, keep those questions coming at Beerfield FF. I've really been enjoying all the listener questions from you guys. That's where you can also see any podcast we may be jumping on. I'll be jumping on with Dynasty ER tonight, so I'm not sure when that episode drops, but probably in the next day or two.
Aw, shit.
Check me out there. And I suppose we should introduce us as well. I'm Nick Sparts. We have Dan Thury.
At Thury BFF. What's up, guys?
And Christopher Hopper, as always.
Hot BFF, 2-piece.
He's kind of here.
He's here.
I'm here to provide whatever it is that I can provide, which today is not going to be much.
All right, we'll try to carry him. Reminder, check us out on YouTube, Beerfield Fantasy Football. We go live there Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Central Time to answer your start-sit questions, let you know any breaking news that's happened, weather advice, hurricane forecasters this weekend probably.
Oh, yikes.
We'll be men of many hats, though only 2 of us really wear hats.
That's what I'd say.
And I'm not even wearing one right now.
So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You can keep track of when we jump on the air for that. In addition, if you can do any likes and comments on any of our videos, that does help boost visibility. I'm happy to answer all your questions there as well. And lastly, go ahead and drop reviews on iTunes. It does help boost the visibility for the show there. All of that helps the show out. Lastly, we do have merchandise available for you guys and a Patreon if you want to help the show out financially. DM the show or email BeerfieldFF, BeerfieldFantasyFootball@gmail.com. If you want to help, if you're looking to get some Beerfield merch or just provide us to our Patreon, all of it helps keep the show going. All right, let's do a beer preview. Beerfield. And fueling us today is an aptly named A Terrible Idea by 21st Amendment Brewing Company. Second time for 21st Amendment to jump on the show. They're based out of San Leandro, California. And A Terrible Idea is a hazy IPA, clocks in at 6.8% to get us fueled here on a Wednesday.
That seems like a good idea. A terrible idea was 3/4 of my starts of the week last year.
Last year?
Last week.
Yeah.
Well, probably both.
We'll try to get a better... At least you're over the Mendoza line, technically.
Yeah.
Oh, we're aiming for better this week. All right.
Do better.
That's always a hope.
Do better.
Let's get some news. Not a big surprise, but Coach Doug Peterson confirms Nick Foles will start week 2 against the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Do we get good Nick or bad Nick against a bad Bucs defense?
Who knows?
Mediocre Nick.
We don't get mediocre Nick.
It's either good Nick or bad Nick.
I'm going
kind of like the host of the show.
I'm going with Saint Nick.
Yeah, I want to say Nick more than
good Nick.
Than Nick Foles.
Think we're gonna get good Nick?
I'm not gonna bet on it, but sure.
All right. First round pick Josh Allen has been named the Bills' Week 2 starter against the Chargers. So
breaking news: he throws 5 interceptions
in the first half
for Nathan Peterman.
Yeah,
that
didn't take long. This is the Deshaun Watson thing, except less sexy.
Significantly less sexy. And his weapons are much worse.
Yeah.
Much worse.
But I do think he's better than what we've seen from Nathan Peterman, who posted a passer rating of 0 in week 1.
It was bad weather.
Yeah.
It was horrible weather.
At least Hopkins had a nuke and maybe like an AK. And
Are you talking about Watson had a nuke?
Watson had a nuke and maybe like an AK. And Josh Allen has like dollar store off-brand Nerf guns.
Yes, Jeremy Curley, who seems to find himself.
Oh, well, in that case, QB1.
Rex Burkhead is surprisingly in the concussion protocol, considering he finished the game last week.
Fire up your James White.
Yay. James White and Sony Michelle, I guess.
Oh, boy.
Kenjon Barner, who they just signed off the
Oh,
street.
is Barner there now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reported that Kenneth Dixon is likely sidelined for several weeks. So in response, the Ravens put him on IR.
Yeah, as they should.
We'll show you several weeks. Let's make that at least 8.
Just cut him. It's over with.
It's done.
he
It was
tried.
over before it
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, he
tried.
He was a moderately tough cut decision in the league a few weeks ago, and now it's like, oh, that was I made a right call there. That worked out well.
Congrats, you tried. If the NFL gave out participation ribbons at the
James
awards
Harrison would be
ceremony,
pissed off about
Kenneth
that.
Dixon would get the participation ribbon.
All right. Well, if we're going to give participation ribbons to an entire team this year, the Raiders re-signed
Bills.
Martavis Bryant to a 1-year contract.
What?
They did. I don't know if he's going to play Sunday.
He's playing Sunday.
It's
Is
good for Cooper. At
Is
least
he
it
not
moves him
getting
inside.
suspended now?
I don't know.
What the is it void when they finally suspend him and they're just kind of like,
Who the fuck
hey,
knows?
play until you're suspended?
I have none of these answers. I'm only reporting what just came out.
What in the actual hell is going on?
Hey, do you want to sign that guy to a 1-year contract we just cut, who might get suspended for a year? Yes, great idea.
John Gruden, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, Eagles re-signed wide receiver Kamar Aiken.
The Patriots signed Corey Coleman.
Corey Coleman's better prospect at succeeding than Lamar Aiken. Kamar Aiken, though.
Lamar Aiken.
Whatever his name is. Kamar Aiken, though, I guess is noteworthy because they need somebody not named Alshon to go outside. And Hollins is on IR. Wallace was ineffective. And Aguilar, he can catch
Works the
passes,
slot.
but then everybody's just going to converge on him.
And I think they realistically want Shelton Gibbs to be more of a special teams guy. And who's the other one they had?
DeAndre Carter. I want him to be a thing.
I mean,
just because Miguel.
by the
really
way,
wants
all
to
of
be a
this is
thing.
news to me also. I had no idea any of this happened.
How do you guys feel about Patriots signing Corey Coleman?
Better than I do about the Eagles signing Lamar Aiken. Kamar Aiken, Clay Aiken, it don't matter. Aguilar 8 for 33.
As for Corey,
Please don't say that. I'm starting him in a standard league this week.
As for Corey Coleman,
it's depth. I mean, they didn't get much out of Hogan. They have a tough matchup this week,
Patterson was used sparingly. Dorsett was really the only one worth a damn
and even then,
from the wide receiver core. So, it doesn't hurt.
This week I expect it to be pretty ugly all around except for Gronk because I get the Jags in Jacksonville. But week 3, I'm
someone else has to catch passes and just Gronk.
It has to be somebody else. Maybe.
James White.
Yeah, that's what
James
I'm saying.
White.
Every other running back's banged up.
All right. So the Greg Olsen scenario right now, he did break his foot again. He wants to play this again this season in like 4 weeks. He has not been placed on IR, so he can do this, but I don't know how he's going to come back from a broken foot in 4 weeks.
Yeah,
Feet are important.
just have.
I don't think you catch with them, but they matter for other things.
Like
Unless
running
you're a
routes
monkey.
and stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure this is a good idea. Unless he's like, screw it, it's my last year anyway. I'm just going to go at it.
I'm just going to destroy my foot.
Just let me tear
Yeah.
myself up.
I'll let this thing heal up for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
All right. And keep an eye on these guys because they did not practice today. Aaron Rodgers with his knee injury. Leonard Fournette with his hamstring. Devonta Freeman with his knee. Michael Thomas got the flu or
He'll
something.
play.
Devonta Adams has a shoulder injury. Marquise Goodwin with his thigh. Ted Ginn with his knee. And Deshaun Jackson with a double whammy concussion shoulder combo.
All right.
Have fun with that.
Well, more on them on the Friday episode where we'll have a better idea if any of those guys are going to go or not.
Yep. But just keep an eye on them. Those are some decently big names to know.
Yeah, it's all stuff that has been reported as minor or maybe can be played through, but we'll see.
Yeah, the ones I'd probably worry the most about would be Fournette, Rodgers, and Freeman.
Jackson too, concussion.
I don't think Jackson's going, but he's not.
I don't
that
think.
important.
I don't even know if Rodgers is going to play.
I don't know. If
I don't
he is either.
think he will.
Wait, which Freeman?
Devonta.
Oh yeah, he did leave. Hurt. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, time for Monday Night Recap.
What the hell happened?
So I thought the Monday night games might be okay through about 2 quarters, and then the second half they both just went to total shit.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
So Dan, tell us about the Jets laying the shellacking on the Lions,
So
48-17.
I went and I rewatched the condensed version of this game, and I kind of hate myself for it. But we'll start with the Jets here. So Sam Darnold had a good start to his career. Outside of the pick 6 he threw to start the year.
Sorry, he had a terrible start, but after that, he got a lot better.
He got a lot better. Seems, he looked like what we saw on tape, at least in terms of his upside. Moved through the pocket well, sliding, evading pressure. Was able to throw on the run. He didn't look scared. He didn't look nervous. He was more than prepared against what should have been a more improved Lions defense. He gets the Dolphins and Browns over these next 2 weeks. This may seem like a far-fetched question, but is he a streaming option?
Yes.
I wouldn't want to consider it, but you could. Especially if you're in 2 quarterbacks, I'd definitely kick the tires on it. One, probably you have to have somebody better, I'd say.
Well, this week there's so many better options. There's just a lot of good options.
Yeah,
But in terms of like 2
week.
QB super flex, he's worth that streaming option. This week.
If you're in
He's worth the conversation.
if you're in a 2 quarterback league, start away.
As for the running game here, both Powell and Crowell had very strong games. There was no run defense from the Lions this week.
Crowell just no defense.
There is no defense at all. They both had equal amount of snaps at 24. Crowell actually had 2 more receiving snaps and I believe had more targets here. He got both of the touchdowns here. It's good to see that he was able to find some of this burst and this open field running ability that we get to really see a lot last year because of how bad the Browns were. But it's still a running back by committee, and until we get to see a little bit more in terms of the snap count, it's hard to trust either on any given week. Though this is a better matchup for them coming up.
Yeah, they're running back 3-ish for going forward.
Yeah, they're not terrible flex plays, but if one of them does go down, especially if Powell and it just becomes a Crowell show, I do like him as the lead dog here more than Powell. In terms of the receiving core, we have it finally set together. Quincy Nua is the Jets' number 1 receiver. He finished with 10 targets. He is the possession guy, the go-to guy for Darnold. Finished 6 for 63 and a touchdown. I think he's a high priority add in most of these leagues, as if Darnold is even better than what we thought he was going to be this season, he's going to post at least flex-worthy numbers on most weeks. In terms of the other 2 receivers, Robbie Anderson and Terrell Pryor, they both finished with 4 targets total, but Anderson had the nice touchdown catch that saved his day.
That was not a good throw by Darnold on his touchdown.
No, it wasn't.
But he bailed him out.
He bailed him out. Anderson also saw Slay a lot of this game, so I expect better days for Anderson, but I still like Quincy Nua, especially in PPR leagues.
Agreed.
As for the tight ends, Neil Sterling is your starting tight end here. He played the most snaps at 40. Chris Herndon and Eric Tomlinson are the run blockers. Not really noteworthy, but if you're playing in 2 tight end leagues, at least deeper leagues, at least you know who the starter is. And as for the defense, if you started them, I don't know what the fuck you were thinking, but you got lucky. They also get their 2 nice matchups here coming up against the Dolphins and Browns. So maybe stream worthy.
I am starting him in week 2 in a few
I am
places.
starting him in a league, so that is the Jets. As for the Lions, Matthew Stafford struggled like crazy. I guess it was reported that the Jets players knew what the plays were coming along.
Coaches haven't said that, but one of the players mentioned that they
it was
do
multiple
the hand
players, yeah. So that allowed them to be more aggressive, I guess. But either way, the offensive line struggled. They were very inconsistent in their protection. Stafford also got 0 help from his receivers. I mean, he got help, but 2 drops by Marvin Jones and a touchdown, or 2 drops from Marvin Jones in the end zone. TJ Jones also dropped 1. Golden Tate, though, at least helped. I still see better days for Stafford. It was just a fluke of a week for them.
He's had games like this before too.
Yeah.
It's not the first. He'll give you 1 or 2 of these a year.
Yeah, it's kind of like guys in this similar tier, like Rivers, is kind of the same way, where he's normally good, and then he'll give you just a couple stinkers.
Roethlisberger's the same also.
That's more of the home road split thing with him, but
Yeah.
Either way, with how bad this defense looked, there's going to be a lot of volume, especially with the inefficiency of the running game that was fucking horrible as well. Probably worse than the passing game. Blunt looked like he needs to be off this team. He finished with 4 carries for -3 yards.
I thought I saw that he got hurt too.
so he hurt his knee and
He
he hurt his
should.
shoulder, and he's practicing again. So
So,
Great, because he looked slow. He looked lazy. It was bad. It was like watching Simi Cobbs on tape. As for Kerryon Johnson, in the very limited work that he had, he actually looked good out there. I hope he gets more work, but it still remains to be seen. As Theo Riddick, just because of the game script, he finished with the most amount of snaps and was actually viable this week. Outside of the drops from the receivers, Golden Tate led all of them with 15 targets, 12 went to Galladay, 8 went to Jones. Jones would have had a lot better day had he got at least one of those touchdowns, but they all finished at least flex-worthy. Tate finished, I think, 7 for 74 and a touchdown. Galladay finished with 7 for 114. As long as his defense sucks and the running game is inefficient, you can trust all 3 of these receivers, I think.
yeah, especially if you think their defense is going to be this bad.
And Galladay also led the team, led all receivers in snaps. So I don't think he's not the number one just yet. It's probably still Marvin Jones and Tate, but it's good to see that he's out there on a lot of these plays. And as for the tight ends, you still can't trust them, and you're not going to trim this defense because they're garbage.
All right. I mean, that was too much time on a terrible Lions game.
Well, still.
All right. Moving on to Rams Raiders. Rams win this one 33-13. Let's start off with the Rams side. Goff had an okay game for fantasy purposes. He was bailed out by the Gurley touchdown that technically counted as a pass. It was one of those stupid forward passes where the running back's running the jet sweep. Defense might be good enough that it limits his volume this year, so his upside might be capped a little bit. He was not having to throw much in the second half.
Well, and Gurley was able to run pretty handily also. So.
Yep. Gurley gave you the game you're looking for, 147 total yards and a touchdown. He couldn't punch in the end zone on the Rams' last drive, so if he'd been able to do that, it would have given you an excellent day instead of just a very good day. So Gurley is fine. Don't worry about him whatsoever. Kupp, Woods, Cooks all had 8 targets. Cooks finished with the most yards. Kupp got the touchdown.
Kupp gave you a very Cooper Kupp stat line.
Yeah, it was, 50-ish yards and touchdown?
5 for 58 and 1, which is the most Cooper Kupp
That
stat
is
line
Cooper
ever.
Kupp,
That's
yeah.
Cooper Kupp.
Yep. All 3 look startable week to week. So it's going to be tough predicting which one is going to be the best in any given week. I will say, though, Cooks got tons of deep shots and drew a ton of pass interference penalties.
Yeah, there were 3 that I saw, and I fell asleep at halftime.
Yeah, and there was probably more in the second half.
Torrey Smith.
So, yeah, Cooks is going to get you some absolute boom games this year. It is going to happen.
So it's Brandon Cooks.
Defense and Zerline both like they could be elite. I do want to see them against a team that's not this terrible before I confirm that.
Yeah, Zerline missed one, but he was kicking from second base.
Yeah, and he hit 4 more and 3 extra points to save his day, so he was fine.
Yeah, he's okay. The one he missed was off the dirt, so just don't
I'm not worried about it.
don't worry about that.
On the Raiders side, Derek Carr was even worse than I generally consider Derek Carr. Everything was either to Jared Cook or a running back. He threw 9 attempts to his receivers in the entire game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was ugly. Cook was having himself a day, but
Cook was having himself a day. He does that from time to time, though.
He does that in week
yeah,
1.
The Rams
Often week 1.
The Rams also have really good cornerbacks, so
And not so good linebackers.
and not so good linebackers. So they attacked their weakness, or tried to anyway. Didn't work, but they tried.
Yep. So, yeah.
Speaking of participation ratings,
Carr can only be started in optimal matchups at this point, and that's even a fringe.
Even then.
Marshawn Lynch got his work early. He looked good running the ball, and then they just stopped giving it to him. He only finished with 13 total touches. This touchdown bailed you out. I thought he looked fine on tape, but it was just ugly in terms of game
He
script.
did look good on tape.
where have I seen that before?
Oh, last year.
Oakland, circa 2017.
Yes.
So yeah, this could be another bad year for Lynch. On the flip side, Richard, when they went down, it was just all him. He got all the work in the second half once they started losing. A ton of targets.
Oh yeah, Doug Martin was sprinkled in as a change of pace, and that's it. Jalen Richard was used a lot more than I thought he was going to be.
Yep. So at this point, if you look at a game, you're like, I think Oakland's going to lose big in this one.
Probably a lot of games.
Richard might be the best starting option. They had 9 targets to receivers, so they're all down. Basically, at this point, I'm fading all Oakland receivers until they show me the offense is competent. Because it was similar to the Bears, where the opening drive that they scripted looked pretty good. The rest of the game, they looked like complete dog shit.
Yep.
So this offense may not click, and there may not be a ton of startable options off of it. So your Cooper call from the start of the year, I'm starting to get real nervous about.
It's week one. We speak about overreaction and also 2 ridiculous matchups to go in against his favor.
New offenses too. So, as they get more familiar, more comfortable with it as games go on, I expect it to get better. This is a tough matchup for the wideouts also. So
Yeah, and plus it was game scripted away, it sounded like.
All right. And then in terms of looking poor for the Raiders in general, they cannot generate pressure at all.
Well,
they can't generate pressure. They can't generate coverage. They can't generate defense.
it's almost like they just lost somebody that could do that for them.
No, it seems like they might be missing a piece. Someone might be gone. But basically, do not even consider this defense all year unless they run into a team that's starting like the worst quarterback in the NFL.
So if they play the Bills, which I don't think they do.
So if they play the Bills and Allen and Peterman are both injured, then consider starting the Raiders. Kicking game is avoidable just to how inept the offense is overall. They won't have a ton of opportunities. So that's enough on the Raiders. Let's go with what we learned in week 1 in the lounge.
I don't know where I put that drop. It's here somewhere. There it is.
We're so organized.
Got it.
That's also like the perfect drop for not being able to find something. You just put elevator music. So it worked in both ways.
I gotta find it to play it.
All right. So what we learned in week 1, this is going to be 4 to 5 things that we can bank on going forward. An example I gave that was too obvious to use is Bills' offensive weapons are going to be struggling this season. We kind of knew it going into the season, but they really proved it to us week 1.
Just watch Josh Allen leads this team to the
All right.
playoffs.
It's not going to happen. 0%.
I said
chance.
watch, and I seen it's going to happen.
Dan, go ahead with your first thing that we can count on after week 1.
So I've been harping this since the offseason, and that's Breeze is going to positively regress towards his averages that he had with New Orleans besides last season. He probably won't hit the 600 attempt mark that he's done before because his defense doesn't look as good, but it's still better than what they've had before. A lot of that has to do with the defense showing signs of regression, what we saw just this past week. I didn't think it'd be that bad, but I do expect it without Ingram there for 4 weeks. And then him not, the team going on a bye and all that stuff. I still think Breeze is going to have to throw a little bit more than what we saw last year, just because his defense isn't going to just overproduce like they did last year.
Yeah, it's not going to give him in so many good situations. They're not going to have as many short fields to play with. The defense definitely looked like it took a step back in week 1. It may get better, but it probably overachieved last year. And
Yeah.
we've seen teams do that where suddenly they just get hot.
Well, it's a very young secondary still.
So I completely agree with this one. So kudos on that one. Hopper?
I'm trying to type them in as I go, but I do have one. So I told you, for those that I've been dealing with personal crap the last 2 days. So what I learned from week 1 is that Philip Lindsay is the real deal, and he's going to be used, and he split carries with Royce Freeman. He was equally as effective. He was used in the passing game.
Exactly as equally as effective, too.
Yes, exactly.
Same carry, same yards.
Down to the yardage. So he's going to be used in the passing game. This is not a sure thing that this is all Royce Freeman's job. But Philip Lindsay, what you saw in preseason was not a mirage.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a reason they got rid of Henderson. It's because Lindsay looks legit.
Yes, he does.
All right. My first point that I think we learned from at least week 1. Bears offense is not going to come in and explode like the Rams offense did last year. There might be a slow climb over the season as they slowly mesh and they start getting their weapons going, but they're not going to come in and I think it was the week 2 Thursday night game when the Rams just blew up for 47 points.
The Niners also blew up for like 40-something points.
That was a weird game. It was a fun game.
It was Thursday night.
So, but I don't expect the Bears to do that this year based on what we saw week 1. The offense doesn't look like it's going to click in that way. So this is going to be more of a slow growing process as opposed to an immediate explosion.
Yep.
All right, Dan, your second point.
Mine is the Bengals want to use Mixon nearly the same way that Pittsburgh uses Le'Veon Bell. What I mean by that is that even if he's not getting it done on the ground between the tackles, they're going to find ways to get him the ball in space. This was something that we saw just very little bit in preseason where obviously teams are going to want to tip their hand early on, but we got to see this against the Colts. Even when he got it going, they want to get him involved in the passing game, and they want to make sure that he is the number 2 target on this offense, if not a 1A, 1B situation, as Nick, I think you mentioned during the review. No, that was me. Either way, Sorry. That's where I'm sitting with this.
I 100% agree. I thought they were kind of pointing towards that during the preseason when Mixon was getting all the first team work, and then they just cemented it after week 1.
Yeah.
Where it was all Mixon. Hopper, your second thing you learned.
So my second thing I learned shooting from the hip is Geronimo Allison is a viable third wide receiver, and Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers on one leg or not. So if you got a Packers skill player, you start him, except maybe Jimmy Graham. But Geronimo Allison, there's no threat to him.
Yeah, there's
None.
He is the third guy. We have to worry about Rodgers' knee not exploding at this point, but beyond that, Allison looks like he's a safe wide receiver 3 for you.
Yeah.
All right, my second point. Deshaun Watson will not be magical in every game he plays this year. There are going to be some ugly games along the way. We kind of hinted at this throughout the pre-draft process, but this game showed us that the team is going to have some growing pains this year. It's not going to catch fire like it did for the six or 7 games he played last year that he was just going nuts. Expect a much more up and down season where we'll have some games he's going to blow up and give you 35, and there's other games where it's going to be like this last one where he gives you 10 to 12.
It's like these defenses had tape that they were able to watch all offseason.
And they're having serious offensive line issues. Will Fuller's not healthy. Surprise. So there's issues there, and Watson's not going to be able to cover up for all of them, and he's not going to carry the team to 40 points every week.
Nope.
Your third point, Dan.
I put that Andrew Luck didn't have a lot of rust, and he should be a guy that's going to have a shit ton of volume moving forward. I expected Luck this week to have a little bit of rust. I know he had a lot of snaps in preseason, but that's preseason. That's either hearsay. But he came out there, he threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a pick, took a couple sacks, but with how bad this defense is, with an even made up offensive line, the Colts are going to have to throw. Luck's going to have to throw, and he's going to find options. He made Ryan Grant a viable name after just week 1. So more patented Andrew Luck from last seasons.
As long as he stays healthy.
Yep.
Hopper, how many more do you have?
I've got 2 more off the top of my head right now.
All right, we'll go with 2 more. Go ahead.
All right. Rule 86 is alive and well. Jordan Reed, when he's healthy, you should still start him. Injuries to Olsen and Walker notwithstanding, he was utilized by Alex Smith. He had 5 targets, which was 3rd on the team, but not by a lot. Used in the red zone, used downfield. So Jordan Reed still has the ability to be elite, despite the repeated injuries.
And this is a game they went up early and were in clock killing mode in like the 3rd quarter.
And he still gave you a good week.
All right. My third point is that's the exact same game. Cardinals are going to have a lot of bad games this year, and basically there's only about 2.5 players worth considering starting. Johnson, Fitzgerald, and maybe NASCAR.
More on him later.
more on him later. So yeah, this is going to be a bad offense. It looks like as I mentioned on Monday's episode, I'm really upset with Mike McCoy and how pedestrian that offense looked. I don't know why David Johnson only had 12 or 13 touches. I'm not sure they're going to get it going this year. It's going to be probably a rough start to the season. We'll keep an eye on them and see if they change up, but it's not looking good to start the year. Dan, your fourth and final point?
That Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill are a dangerous combo, not just in the NFL, but obviously for fantasy purposes as well. I expected a down week for Mahomes. This is a very tough matchup. Obviously, just because the Chargers were banged up, he's a rookie. I just expected to see some of that. But it's Tyreek Hill in the way that the Chiefs used him even after Matt Nagy left. Hill is going to propel Mahomes to fantasy stardom. But which is how bad this Chiefs defense is, which is how much you're going to have to throw, especially downfield. Mahomes could have a quiet day, then just a couple shots give you that QB1 type of finish.
Yep, completely agree with that. In fact, Mahomes is my start of a week and a reason. Just preview to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my last 2 in here while I stall for Hopper. Steelers are basically going to use 1 and 1 back only. Prove this by giving James Conner every single snap for running backs this last week. So if Bell comes back, expect Conner to completely go away. As long as Bell's gone, Conner is the guy. That's it. There's no one else of relevance there unless you're in a deep enough league where you're holding Ridley or Samuels as a handcuff to Conner.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this with D'Angelo Williams when Bell was dealing with his suspensions and injuries. As soon as Bell went out, for whatever reason, Williams automatically became an RB1 must start.
Yep.
That's what we're going to see from Conner.
And Conner is the same guy until Bell comes back.
Yeah.
All right, and then my fifth point for me, there is no Ingram replacement for the first 4 weeks in the Saints. They're going to pass more, and it's Kamara. That's it. That is the team.
Yeah.
So Gillisley and Williams we were trying to project something, and they just said, "Nah, we're going to do it a different way."
We're going to fumble and only get one touch.
All right. Your last point, Hopper?
My last point is the Broncos wide receivers are both viable once again. Sanders and Thomas should be owned. They should be started. Case Keenum proved that what he did with Thielen and Diggs was not a fluke. As Thomas and Sanders both went out and had strong games, they proved that they can both put it together. And Cortland Sutton should not be considered a threat unless one of them is not healthy.
Yeah, I don't expect Sutton to overtake either one, but Sutton may, if this offense gets going well enough, he may become viable in his own right, too.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Those are the things we learned from week 1 that we have some clarity on now. There were some things we may have had questions on going into the season. They are now settled. Let's go ahead and get a beer review in.
Beer review.
So what do you guys think of A Terrible Idea by 21st Amendment Brewing Company?
It wasn't a terrible idea. It's pretty solid. Nice mild hoppiness on the front end that just kind of lingers with a slight bitterness. Good tropical, like fruity flavor to it as it fades through onto your tongue.
Yeah, this is a perfect hazy type of IPA, which is becoming one of the more popular trends, even right now in September. I love hazy, so this is job well done.
And not as bitter as would you expect from the IBUs. It comes in at 55. It tastes more like 30 or 35 to me. So
It
Not
sits there
bad
in
at
the
all.
back end, which is what Hopper was saying. It just kind of lingers in the background.
Yeah.
I mean, you're seeing more and more beers, though, when they get the bitterness is more of just a dry factor than an actual, like, bitter type flavor to it.
Some of them, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it does taste a little mild for that rating, but
But yeah, so fantastic one there.
I get it.
I think the other one we had from them was Fireside Chat back
Yeah.
in 2017.
Yeah, it was also really good.
Yep. So 21st Amendment Brewery, we don't get a ton of their stuff out here, but I've enjoyed their larger distribution stuff we have gotten. So shout out to them out in California. Maybe someday we can get out there and get to the brewery and get something a little more interesting out of them. All right, let's go ahead and jump on to our starts and sits of the week.
I gotta figure out where I put those. Oh, there it is. New drops, new locations.
Start 'em, sit 'em.
Promises this goes on, I'll learn where things are.
You know, I give you the show notes, you know the next thing that's
When
coming,
life
right?
isn't as hectic for Hopper.
I do, but when I have to run out of the room and take a call and I come sit back down, I'm like, okay, where are we? Oh, I got to review this beer that I'm drinking most of and not really paid attention to. Oh, shit, now we got to drop. Like, today just isn't a good day, Nick. Not a good day.
All right, well, hopefully,
love you none
hopefully
the
the
same,
start of the
Al.
week is better. Who do you have this week?
My first start of the week is the aforementioned Case Keenum going up against Oakland. Goff had himself a solid fantasy day, not exceptional. Keenum went for 3 touchdowns last week. Yes, there were 3 picks. I'm not nearly as worried about that with Oakland just because, I mean, Seattle's young defense, but the scheme we know is good. And with Thomas and Sanders being the weapons they are, I think that they're going to feast on these corners. So, Case Keenum is kind of my quarterback stream that I'm putting money on. Or not, I'm not putting any money on it actually, but I'm putting my flag on it this week.
He would be my second favorite streamable player. Dan, you've got my favorite.
Yeah, so mine's Alex Smith. So basically, it's a good idea to stream any starting quarterback against the Colts, at least especially this season. While we didn't get the big plays from Smith that we saw last year, he has one of the best pass catching backs in Chris Thompson, who he loves to use. We saw last week. Jordan Reed is a top tier talent when he's healthy, and Smith loves to use his tight ends. And then with that, you get the combination with Jamison Crowder and Paul Richardson fitting what Smith does best, and that's targeting his receivers when they create separation. Seems like an easy fit for a QB1 finish.
Yep, I like it. It should, at the very least, he's going to give you a great floor this game. Should be probably 200 plus yards, 2 touchdowns, and some rushing as a nice safe day minimum.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, mine is Patrick Mahomes. Obvious kind of start at this point, but I'm saying it's time to start pushing chips in on him, and I'm just kind of giving him the full endorsement. He passed with flying colors last week against a much tougher Chargers defense, and now he gets a terrible Steelers defense. that last year was giving up 5 points more than league average to passing games. They just gave Tyrod Taylor an excellent game in a terrible condition in the rain. Mahomes is going to just kill him this game. I expect this to be the highest scoring game of the week by far. Especially
it is the over/under 52.5.
Yeah,
right now.
Expect a lot of points to be scored in this game, and you want to start a lot of players from it. One of the main pieces of that being Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
All right. Hopper, your second start of the week.
Second start of the week actually piggybacks Dan's quarterback start of the week. It's going to be Adrian Peterson. I expect the game script to be in Washington's favor, and we saw last week that when that happens, they're just going to feed AP. At 26 carries last week, Joe Mixon, who's had some problems running between the tackles, especially with that Bengals offensive line, went for over 5 yards to carry against these guys. So Adrian Peterson, if he's getting fed, I expect to at least kind of be in the fours. I expect him to have a more efficient day than you've been used to from him in these recent years, and he should punch in a touchdown probably also. So, if you're on the fringe about him, he's a safe start this week.
Yeah, he's my running back 13.
He may not get 26 carries, but he's going to have the efficiency and a lot of goal line chances potentially.
If he gets about 20, you're in good shape.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, your start of the week, who's my running back 14.
Yeah, that's Deion Lewis. So it looks like the Titans have figured out their running back situation. As Lewis is probably, I don't know if to say probably, but he's the RB1 at this point. I'll snap Henry last week, 49-20, and he seems to just do everything better than Henry. He even got the lone goal line, which led to his touchdown. And even when Mariota came out because of his injury, he still was able to find production with Blaine Gabbert as your quarterback. We're starting to see what we saw at the tail end of last year with the Patriots, with a far better offense. He's able to continue that, in a Titans offense, which seems to be spiraling out of control right now.
All right. I'm going to stick with this Steelers-Chiefs game, and I'm going to say I have James Conner as my running back 6 this week.
Cheater. He's my 6 too. So.
We're all cheating.
Basically, at this point, he's going to get all the snaps. This is a team that gave up just misplaced my notes. He gave up 292 yards last week to Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon combined, and a touchdown. All the work is going to James Conner. He is going to absolutely feast this week against this Chiefs defense. It's going to be absurd. I almost wanted to put him higher.
I almost put him ahead of Zeke.
Yeah, I could.
I was so close.
Yeah, James Conner, there's no questions this week. If anyone's like, do I flex James Conner? Yes, 100% yes, in your lineup.
It's
no
okay.
questions.
We'll still get those on Sunday morning.
Sure, we will. All right. Wide receiver start of the week. Who do you guys have? Hopper, kick us off.
All right. Well, sticking with the Steelers and Chiefs, my start of the week is going to be Juju Smith-Schuster. We gave some city advice on him last week. He still went out and caught a big play, which I guess he's always
that's what he does.
Susceptible to do. Mike Williams went for 81 yards. Keenan Allen had himself a week against these guys. You can throw against them. It's going to be a shootout, which means Juju is going to be used. I fully expect Brown to have a huge day. I also expect Juju to be a back-end 1 to top-end wide receiver 2 this week. So absolutely, if you're looking for your wide receiver 2 start and Juju's kind of in that rotational spot for you, start him.
He's my wide receiver 11. I fully endorse this.
Yeah, I went conservative at 17.
I know. I was like, fuck this. This game's going to go nuts.
This game is going to go nuts.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a defensive struggle because it's week 2 and we still don't know anything.
We don't know shit.
I'm real confident in this one after what we saw week 1.
Well, let's see.
If this
the
game
more you feel confident, the more we don't know.
Right. If this goes to a defensive struggle, we all just lost one start of the week. All right.
Oh, man. I'm blanking. What was the game a few years ago that was total defensive struggle? It was Saints somebody, and it was supposed to be a shootout.
It's always the same somebody.
Saints somebody.
All right. Dan, your wide receiver start of the week, who I also like.
I think I went a little bit tougher with this. So I went with Devin Funchess. So in the games with Greg Olsen, either hurt or barely playing, and after Benjamin was traded last year, Funchess finished on average with 8 targets, 5 receptions, 81 yards, and he got 4 touchdowns in that 5-game stretch with a 28.9% target share. He gets fed in this offense. While I like DJ Moore, he's not a part of this offense yet, and it all can't go to CMC. Even when you get bad or good Cam, if he's going to target a shit out of your receiver, you got to throw him in there.
Yep, I like Funchess a lot now that Olsen's out, and this is a decent matchup for him.
Yep.
Atlanta's secondary is beat up.
Oh, they keep getting...
All right, Jarvis Landry is a wide receiver 1 for me this week. He's my wide receiver 12. He gets to go into the Superdome, and this is after he put up over 100 yards in the just worst conditions last week in Pittsburgh, and now he gets to go face a defense that Fitzpatrick just tore to shreds. And if you look at the route tree he was running, he is running the Antonio Brown role. This is not.
Well, they paid him top 5 money for a reason.
Yep, this is not Jarvis Landry we saw in Miami. He was running deep routes. He was making defenders look silly, and he was making plays downfield. He had multiple receptions over 30 yards in this game. And it's going to be playing on a speed track in the Superdome. Love him this week. Top. He's a wide receiver 1 for you. Get him in there. But far and away would take him over Gordon. It's not even close between those two this week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, tight end start of the week. Hopper, who do you got?
Well, I cheated.
You doubled up?
Well, I almost doubled both of you up, but I didn't realize I doubled Dan up, and then I doubled you up. And really, I'm just going to endorse both of yours this week because, Ricky Seals and Jones and Jared Cook, spoilers, they both have incredible matchups. They both completely blew up last week. Cook, just because of his usage, absolutely blew up. Ricky Seals Jones draws the same matchup against the Rams, where the corners are going to be incredibly good. He was the second most targeted person on that team. So I'm just going to endorse you guys. So you can go ahead and throw whatever else you have on those, but I endorse both what both of you were about to say.
All right. So Jared Cook, he's my tight end for this week. It's
That
tough.
I think is too high, though.
No, I don't know, but it's tough to be all in. But this one seems a little bit different to me because what we saw, on Monday night, they game scripted away from the receivers. They have almost the same defense they're playing in with the Broncos, with Roby and Harris as their 2 outside guys. They're going to look more to the slot. Broncos also gave up the 8th most points to tight ends last season, I believe at 7.5 points per game. And they just made Will Disley a tight end 1. Jared Cook may or may not get the volume because we've seen this story before. But after the first 3 tight ends, after the Olsen and Walker injuries, who else are you really going to trust after you had 2 targets from Rudolph, you had 2 targets to Jimmy Graham? While I do like Jordan Reed, that's fine. Want to put ahead of him, that's fine. This is where I see the volume go to. I think Gruden's going to keep feeding this because this is the most winnable matchup for them.
I could definitely see it. We've seen this story before with Jared Cook, so I went more conservative at 12.
Well, a lot of people did.
I'm like, I'll have him the highest I've had him in my rankings in a long time, but not top 5.
Right.
Ricky Seals Jones, though, basically with him, it's the same defense that just gave up 180 yards to Jared Cook, and he's the second most targeted player on the team. There's not a lot else out there. I still have him as more of the streaming tight end range, but this is probably one of his best matchups he's going to get. And if the offense does figure it out, which I'm still concerned about, he should be one of the main benefactors of it.
Yeah.
All right. Who do you got for your sits of the week? Hopper?
So my sit of the week this week is going to be Larry Fitzgerald. I know he gets targeted a ton. If you don't have a better option, I understand from where you probably had to draft him. But this entire Cardinals team is drawing a tough matchup against those Rams cornerbacks. I expect him to try to get it done more through the ground, to get it done more over the middle of the tight end. I think Fitzgerald's probably got okay flex value, but really, I think that you're probably just going to have a decent amount of better options against that Rams secondary than Fitz.
I still got him as a 2. I can't quite go that low.
I like his floor, but I definitely agree. You're not going to see any sort of upside here.
I just think there's better plays given some of the matchups this week than him that people may have rostered.
Yeah.
There's a few I'm looking at, but there's very few situations I'm sitting Fitzgerald because he's getting 8+ targets.
It's a buyer beware.
It is a lower.
It's more of a buyer beware. Yes.
Yeah, definitely lower expectations. All right, Dan, I completely agree with yours. In fact, we both have ones from the same team.
Yeah. So I went with Amari Cooper here. Yes, I'm the highest on the show. Yeah, right. I still believe in Cooper. I still believe in him as a buy low after this week. He draws, like I mentioned with Cook, he's going to end up drawing a ridiculously good secondary. And we just saw from Gruden, who's not afraid to game script away from that and try to exploit where his mismatches may lie. And while Cooper may move into the slot more with Bryant back on this roster, Derek Carr still has to get him the football. And if you've seen on Twitter over the while, Derek Carr doesn't even want to look Amari Cooper's way. That is concerning, but I think they're going to try to feed him. I just don't think they're going to have a lot of success with this, as I believe the Broncos have had his number more than enough times throughout his career.
And it's one of the toughest defenses they play all year. It does get better after this week, though. They get the Dolphins next week, the Browns the week after that. They get a tough one against the Chargers, and then they get the Seahawks at home and the Colts at home.
Buy low.
Yeah.
On Cooper after this week.
Yep. If people panic, sell him.
Oh, they will. I promise you that.
All right. In my sit, same game is Marshawn Lynch. He got 13 touches against the Rams. This game was tied until the last play of the third quarter. So there's no reason he should have been game scripted out of this one. And he gets a team with, I think, an even better running defense in the Broncos. At this point, I might even consider Jalen Richard over Lynch in a full-point PPR league for this matchup.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
So, yeah, I think the Raiders are going to be losing and losing big in this game. They're not going to be able to do anything against the Broncos defense. So basically, you're hoping for a Lynch goal line touchdown to save your day. And I don't know if they're going to get it. So he's my running back 30. There's going to be better options out there for you. All right, those are our sits of the week. All we got left to do is preview Thursday night, and we'll be out of here.
I'm guessing that was a clue.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Weekly preview.
All right, I'm hoping this one does end up better than the week one opening night Thursday game.
That was yikes.
That was what combined 30 total points in that game.
Yeah,
We're hoping for a little closer to the over/under line in this one, where it's coming in at 44. It is Ravens at the Bengals. On the Ravens side, Flacco had an excellent week one. This game should be more competitive than a bad Bills team, though, so I'm not trusting him as more than a back-end QB2 until he proves it against a much better defense here. Alex Collins was more significantly disappointing in week one, but this game should be closer, rely more work from him. Colts, with a pretty poor running game between Wilkins and Hines, managed 122 total yards from the running back position against the Bengals. Ravens should be a significantly better rushing team, so I've got Collins as a mid to high running back 2, and Buck Allen's not a terrible running back 4 type desperation play for you.
I do have a little bit of concerns with Collins. The fact that he got benched after his fumble, you didn't see him come back after that fumble until the start of the second half. And Buck Allen looked stronger between the tackles, was used far more. And we saw from last year how Collins got his work was after the struggles of Terrence West and Buck Allen. So I still want to believe in him, and it's only week one. There is some cause for concern, though.
I definitely am not completely sold on him. As I said, he's more of a mid running back 2, and I'm
I'm throwing that out there, though.
All right, no receiver top 60 yards against the Bengals week one, so I am hesitant to start Brown or Crabtree on the short week. If I was picking one, I'd pick Crabtree because they probably need a touchdown to have a fantastic week for you. They're both probably wide receiver 3s or lower in your rankings this week, so I'd try to find an answer somewhere else and starting these guys on a Thursday. I don't want to start any of the Ravens tight ends. There was a lot of shared snaps last week. They had Andrews and Williams rotating in early before Boyle got shut down in the second half after the lead got too big. I want to see Boyle get a stranglehold on the snap percentage before I'm going to endorse even considering starting him. Ravens defense should be solid, but not amazing on a road matchup on a short week. Tucker should be fine, so don't even worry about him. Bengals side, to wrap this up real quickly, Dalton's a much tougher sled week 2. I would not start him in 1 quarterback leagues. Obviously, you may have to in a 2 quarterback league. He's going to be mid to low quarterback 2 against a really tough defense here. Also, expect downgrade for Mixon this week. He's more of a mid running back 2 in this matchup, but he's going to get almost all the work. So even if it's against a top-tier defense, you probably have to start him on volume alone. And then Gio got 4 touches last week. He's not startable until we see him start hitting consistent 10-plus touches again. The entire passing game is benched outside of A.J. Green. He's a back-end wide receiver 1. He does have the Ravens' number a little bit. He's beaten them numerous times, even matching up against Jimmy Smith in past years. But yeah, no Eifert, no Ross, no Boyd in this one. A.J. Green's the only one you're going to want to start. I do think the defense is kind of interesting. It's a short week, which tends to be a little bit lower scoring the majority of the time. It's at home, and it is still Joe Flacco with a low over-under. I got him as a back-end top 12 start, and I'm not starting a Bengals kicker because I've been burned too many times. All
Yep.
Right. Any other thoughts on that?
No, that's perfect.
No, you're good.
All right. Let's quick preview the rest of the week before we call it an episode here. Friday, we will come in. We'll recap what happened in that Thursday night game, tell you how much I fucked up on the preview here, and then we'll preview all 15 of Sunday and Monday night's games to get you prepared for the weekend. And then as a reminder, we will be live on YouTube at 10:30 in the morning Central Time on Sunday, taking all your start-sit questions, news, weather, all that stuff. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Beer Fueled Fantasy Football, to know when we're on the air so you can jump in and chat with us. Everyone who did last week, shout out to you guys.
I'll be there again.
Yep. Dan will be here a third time. We'll have all 3 of us. We are Beer Fueled Fantasy. I'm Nick Sparts. We've got Dan Thury.
At Thury BFF.
And a very frustrated Chris Hopper.
At Hot BFF with 2 P's. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you Friday.
See you guys next time on Beer Fueled Fantasy Football.
See ya.
week. Let's go.
Yeah, and future ones will go even quicker because we won't only do one Monday review instead of two.
After this, yeah. After this,
It'll just make Monday tougher too, though. Until you hit bye weeks, then it'll be better.
we just gotta be. We gotta just find a way to be quicker Monday. That's all. And Friday we're fine. Then I have to work anyway. So then
Well, we should be quicker Friday too.
I just don't want to
So it helps once we get through a few weeks and we're not like, maybe this guy could do something. We're like, no, this guy's not going to
Well,
fucking
we're
do it.
not on bye yet. We don't have bye weeks yet either, so we're getting. You have the full slate of games to review. I'm not that concerned. No, this is pretty much on me. Obviously, tomorrow.